anyone been to a buffet lately? Buffets come to mind when we're stressed. Yep, that's a very good point. Stressed or sad. Someone says, wife's apple pie is put before me. Yep, yep. So there are many opportunities that we can actually override our fullness cues. Since it takes our brain about 20 minutes to register fullness in the stomach, really paying mindful attention is really important so as not to feel uncomfortable or even miserable later. And just to notice, individuals who tend to chronically overeat have changed their set point of their stomach and really would have to retrain the body and brain to sense fullness. So extra weight can accumulate when we override our cues. And so it's just really important to be mindful of where am I right now? Where am I on that hunger gauge? How am I truly feeling right now? So someone shared in the chat, yesterday due to fasting for lots, I ate in the afternoon, then made dinner a little while later. No judgment. Remember, in mindfulness, it's no judgment zone. So this is just data. You can make informed choices based on the data you collected, Robert. Okay, this will be my last slide where I will be sharing a little bit more about mindful eating, and then Georgina will take it over. We have this. This is yet another tool. And I think we might have shared this last time. We're sharing quite a few different tools. Some will resonate more than others, and hopefully one or two of them will resonate great with you. Here we have a mindfulness eating plate, which is kind of reminiscent of the My Plate. If you're familiar with My Plate, it looks like you have a plate that's divided into 4 parts, and the awareness check is usually where the milk would be. But here we have this mindfulness eating plate, which if you visualize it before having a meal, it really allows you to pay attention, wise attention, so you don't get too hungry or too full. We also have a sample of this plate in your handout. So just as the My Plate has portions and food groups for healthy eating, this mindful eating plate helps us to focus on the important aspects of mindful eating. So let's look at the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, it talks about observing. This is really the foundation of mindfulness, just noticing, paying attention, observing. But what are we observing? You're observing your body. You're noticing what's going on. Is my stomach grumbling? Am I experiencing low energy? Am I feeling stressed out, or am I feeling satisfied? Am I full? Am I empty? Just asking oneself, noticing what is going on right now before you want to eat. Second thing we'll look at is, are you in the moment? Are you fully present to this activity of eating? Or are you in front of a TV set? Are you distracted? We encourage that for mindful eating, you just want to be fully present. You want to turn your TV off, sit down, enjoy the action of eating. When you eat, just eat. And then there's savor. Notice the textures, the aroma, the flavor, just like we did with the mindful eating activity. Really assess your food. Ask yourself, is it crunchy? Is it sweet? Is it salty, smooth, or spicy? What am I eating? It really enriches the eating experience. And then the fourth quadrant talks about the non-judgment element, which I keep reiterating. Speak mindfully and compassionately to yourself. Try and notice when the shoulds and the should nots and the rigid rules and guilt start popping into your mind. We don't say any food is bad per se. We just say, you know what? If you want to have a piece of chocolate, eat it mindfully. And then finally, the awareness check. Have a greater appreciation for what you're eating. Some people might eat and think, where was this food sourced from? In some cases, I can think of my son, he will not eat any chocolate that's not fair trade because he did a research study at school and now is very passionate about eating fairly traded chocolate. So just really being aware, engaging all your senses, ensuring it lines up with your value system, just being aware. These are all great ways to incorporate mindfulness as we eat. So I noticed someone shared, does overeating affect your mood besides just feeling too full? Well, I guess the answer would be it could, absolutely. Especially if after overeating, you feel guilty for it. That could actually lead to a bad mood or just feeling down on yourself. So it could do that. It could absolutely do that. All right, I will pass it on to Georgina now, who will share a little bit more about mindfulness eating basics. This is yet another tool that we share, and I have found this to be very helpful. So take it away, Georgina.
All right, thank you, Kai. So we're going to use the word basics to talk about some additional aspects of mindful eating. So you see the word B is for belly, or the letter, sorry, belly check. So do that before you eat. And this is very similar to what Kai went over in terms of that hunger gauge. So perhaps taking a couple of deep breaths, truly asking yourself, are you hungry? Are you sensing that you are hungry? Physically, are you hungry? Or are you some other reason? We're going to get to that in just a little bit, what some of those other reasons might be. The A is to assess your food. So you want to look at your food, again, do some of the things that you did at the beginning with Kai when we did that eating activity, taking a look at it, smelling it, what particular scent, aroma does it have? Is this something that's sweet, salty, or spicy? And the S is to slow yourself down. And I know some of us are just in general really fast eaters. It is very important, though, to try and work on that. Perhaps putting your fork or spoon down between bites. Pausing and taking a breath between bites can also help. And it is very important because there's a 20-minute delay from the fullness in our stomach to register to our brain. So mindful attention and eating slowly is important so that you don't then end up feeling uncomfortable, right, or miserable afterwards later. If you sit down and you're eating really, really fast and you scarf your food down in, let's say, 10, 15 minutes or so, it's not going to hit you until another 5, whether you've eaten too much or not. So that's very important in terms of why we need to try and slow ourselves down. So comment, people eat without breathing. That would not be a safe thing to do. Just be intentional about it when you are eating. So the I is to investigate your hunger throughout the meal. Keep bringing your attention back to the task at hand, right? So again, mindfulness is about being in that present moment. So focus on when you're eating. Continue to do that check, that fullness check. Are you beginning to get full? And then C is to chew your food thoroughly. Your body will be able to process the food more efficiently. And also you will notice your hunger dissipating sooner and a sense of fullness will register in your body. The sooner you are aware of that satiety, the less likely it is that you will overeat. And the S is to savor your food, because we do want to get, right, some enjoyment out of our meals or our snacks. So savoring your food, taking the time to choose food that you really like and would satisfy you at that moment, and picking food that honors your body and your taste buds, being fully present for the experience of eating, and remember to take pleasure in the experience through the use of your senses. Digestion works best when you are relaxed. So those are all of our eating basics. So what are some signs of when you are, we'll start out with hungry. If you can type into the chat box or unmute yourselves. So how do you know when you are truly hungry? How does your body let you know that? Dude. You can either use the chat box or you can unmute yourselves and let us know, what do you notice? So you may feel weak or you get shaky. Oh, I like this. Someone starts to get hangry. Okay, does anyone not know? I'm guessing you all do what hangry stands for. So that's when you're hungry and angry at the same time, right? So we get moody, irritable. So let's look at this. So some internal cues. What about your stomach starts to growl, right? That's usually a tall tale sign that you are definitely hungry. Someone already had typed in the chat box that they feel shaky. Some other things might be perhaps getting a headache when you're hungry. So these are internal cues, right? When your body is letting you know that you truly are hungry. Some cues of when you are full, internal cues, would just simply be that hunger goes away, or perhaps the food that you're eating just kind of starts to lose its taste to you. It doesn't taste as good, or you can feel it. Your stomach, you're starting to become uncomfortable. So that's when you know that you are full. So it's important to look at those internal cues of both being hungry and when you are full. We also, though, rely on some external cues, and these are not good cues to rely on. So I see in the chat box here, I enjoy my eating time, and due to my digestive system, I have become much better at chewing deliberately and slowly. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes when you have certain conditions, it'll definitely get you, right, to slow down and be more aware of when you're eating, and if you're eating too fast, to do some different things that can help you slow down throughout that meal. So external cues, one would be it's lunch break, and so therefore you're just going off and you're going to have your lunch. But what if you really aren't hungry for whatever reason? Maybe, it's lunchtime and you had a late breakfast, so you're not hungry yet. So this would not be a good cue to go by, or just simply going along because everybody else is going to eat. And again, maybe you are not hungry yet. So those would be external cues for being hungry that are not good ones to rely on. Oops, I get her move my, sorry, I forgot to move my slides here for you. Fullness, so this is something else that's not good. And I think part of it comes from having it engraved growing up, hearing our parents say things such as, you got to finish everything off your plate, or perhaps even, you can't get up off the dinner table until everything is done. Well, now as adults, we can give ourselves permission to not clear our plates. If you truly notice that you are full or getting full and you still have food on your plate, it's okay to stop. You don't want to continue to eat, because then you're going to be overly full. You're going to be stuffed. Or sometimes if you are eating and you get into the habit, I know this can be a hard habit to break. You're in front of the TV, and whether it's a snack or a full meal, and you're just kind of mindlessly snacking away or eating, and sometimes you just continue to do so until the TV show goes off, or until a commercial, or until you realize that, oops, I just ate the whole bag of chips maybe, or cookies, or whatever it is that you might be snacking on, or a full meal, and perhaps maybe if you put on too much on your plate. So these external cues, both for hunger and fullness, are not good ones for us to rely on. We want to utilize more so those internal cues. We also have environmental cues. Now, these are different triggers. And so some of them are package sizes. We noticed that some of the potato chips, or just any kind of chips, some of the bags now are bigger, and they'll say like family size or party size. So we're getting more of those unhealthy items. Plate shapes, those are bigger, a lot bigger now than they were, let's say 20, 30 years ago. Especially if you're looking at the different shapes, those square plates, those are huge, right? So that can also be a factor into overeating. When we're talking about gatherings, socializations, variety, as you can see in this picture, it looks like it's at a buffet. I know I have a hard time with this because my eyes are definitely bigger than my stomach. So having taught this class, it's helped me to just remind myself, okay, just because there's a ton of food in front of me doesn't mean that I have to go and eat everything that's out there, right? So remember, the size of your stomach is about the size of your fist, and so it really does not take a lot to fill ourselves up. Someone does blame the shape of their plate. It's a big shape. And it is hard because I can kind of relate to that. You know, if you've got this big giant plate and yet you're trying to be more mindful and look at those different food portions, it's hard to have a big old plate and just see a little bit of food on it. You almost feel compelled to just keep plopping more on there. So something that you can do to offset that is maybe eating off of the salad plate, which is usually smaller than the regular dinner plates. Someone suggested in the chat box to avoid that they avoid buffets. That's something else, because if you know that that's your weakness, then try to avoid them altogether, or at least how often you go, because sometimes it's hard to just completely stop something altogether. So these are what we look at in terms of environmental cues. So emotional eating triggers. I'm actually going to back up here because I would like for you to type in or to just unmute yourselves and answer the following question. What are some times that you eat other than being hungry? Do you find yourselves eating, and if you know it's not out of hunger, what are some other times or reasons that you do eat? I'm just going to take up stress. Yeah, that's a big one. So we've got stress so far coming in, bored, nervous.
In front of the TV at night.
Can you say that again?
In front of the TV at night.
Okay, so sitting in front of the TV at night, yeah, it's just kind of like it, and it's almost like if you really get used to it. It's like you connect watching TV with eating. If I'm watching TV, I've got to have something, to eat. So that could be just kind of out of habit. So let's take a look. You guys have listed some good ones here. So self-soothing, and that could be self-soothing because you're stressed or anxious, nervous, like someone put down. Boredom, I know somebody put that in. Depression, feelings of depression. Distraction, that might be eating, in front of the TV, like was mentioned. We mentioned celebrations, right? Getting together with others, and there's usually food, lots of it involved. Or we just kind of feel like we should. Maybe someone's kind of guilting you into, oh gosh, I just made my apple pie and I know how much you love it, so here you go. And you just try to cut back maybe on the amount of sweets that you eat or something like that. So that's what we refer to as that should eating. So remember that there is a difference between mouth hunger and all of the things that are listed on here. These emotional eating triggers are considered that, versus stomach, which is actual physical hunger. And that's when we go by those internal cues of when you are hungry. So quality versus quantity, right? If over the past 20 plus years, serving sizes have increased. We talked about how there's larger packages, plates are larger, serving spoons, you name it. Even pantries, kitchens are larger. We just have more and more food to store and consume. So I have for you, I'm going to do a little quiz here. Whoops. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'd like you to type into the chat box what you think the answer is. So a cheeseburger 20 years ago had 333 calories. How many calories do you think are in today's cheeseburger? So you have three options. The one is 590 calories, 620, or 700. So 590, 620, or 700. All right, so we've got someone, 1,500. Not in this one. You would that would be those. I could easily see that like those gourmet burgers. That are just full of all kinds of stuff. But it's, let's see here, we've got a couple of you that typed in 620. I think two of you, 620, 590, 700. So let's look at the answer. Good guesses. So the 590, and I think it was one person. So there you go. You guessed it right. It is 590 calories. There's 257 more, looking at what the basic cheeseburger, about what it was 20 years ago. So here's a fun fact. If there's anyone that lifts weights, you would have to lift weights for an hour and 30 minutes in order to burn those 257 calories there. So what's something that if you were to have a cheeseburger, what would you usually eat with that? Fries. All right, we got lots of fries coming in the chat box. So yes, so here we go. Our next question. 2.4 ounces of French fries 20 years ago had 210 calories. How many calories do you think are in today's portion? And the key is think about the portion of today. So your choice, your options are 590, 610, or 650. 590, 610, or 650. Hey, he's got.
Come on.
All right, so I've got 610. I've got two of you type that in, and then I've got two of you coming in at 590. All right, this time nobody picked the third option, which was 650. So you are correct if you guessed 610, which is an additional 400 calories compared to what the portion size was about 20 years ago. So for this one, if you're looking to burn off those 400 calories, you could take a leisurely walk, which would be about an hour and 10 minutes, in order to burn those 400 calories. So someone had typed in the chat box when I asked what goes with burgers, somebody said a milkshake. That sounds really good right now. But other than a milkshake, what else, what might you have to finish off your meal here? So it is something to drink. In this case, it's not a milkshake, but last one, 6.5 ounce portion of pop 20 years ago had 85 calories. How many calories do you think are in today's portion? So it's 200, 250, or 300. Those are your options. 200, 250, or 300. So we've got two so far guessing at 200. We've got one for 300 and one for 250. So we've got all the options here listed. So let's see which one of you is correct. It's 250 calories. And if you think about it, I had said that 20 years ago it was a 6.5 portion or ounces. I do not even see anything that small these days. The smallest that I've seen is like a 12 ounce, and those are just the regular 12 ounce cans of pop. So show Lisa what she's won. Somebody won. Well, unfortunately, there are no prizes for this brief quiz that I'm giving you. It's just a thank you for participating. But great job for those of you that guessed correctly. So yeah, going back to this, we're just consuming more. Not sure why, but that's just the way it is. And kind of just quickly going back to somebody had asked the question earlier when Kai was presenting, is it something more here in the US in terms of just the busyness and the fast paced? I don't know about that, but I have heard a lot of people throughout these sessions that I've done comment on how when they have interactions, whether it's business meetings or what have you, with people that coming here from other countries, and they're going out to eat, and they almost all of them comment on how our sizes and our restaurants here are more than where they are coming from. And these are with, well-developed countries. This is, it's similar as far as economics here. So I don't know why that is. That does seem to be something more particular here to the U.S. Maybe because there's so plenty, I don't know, but there's lots of other countries that have a lot of variety too. We just seem to be consuming a lot more. So a lot of suggestions, instead of eating 3 large meals, eating 6 small meals. So yes, so that would actually be going, I'll read it out loud. Statement that came, or a comment from the chat box. A lot of suggestions, instead of eating 3 large meals, eating 6 small meals, and then just more of my thoughts. So this is something that I have heard from a friend of mine who's a dietitian, and I've seen some others that say similarly. This would be something that you'd want to do instead of having 3 large meals. If you're having a hard time, let's say cutting back on your calories or just your consumptions, or for whatever reason, that is a suggestion that they have, is rather than having 3 full meals, to have 5 to 6 really, really small. And then when I say small, it's almost like snack sizes throughout the day. A couple thoughts behind that. One is, let's say that you've stretched your stomach, and so now when you're eating a lot more than what you really need to. This can help with that issue, because every couple of hours you're giving something, even though it's little, something in your stomach, so that hopefully you're not going to feel that hunger, and then it will help afterwards that you'll be better able to regulate those regular sized meals. So yeah, that is something that I've heard that is a good suggestion. Someone said fast food is cheaper here. You think that's why we eat so much? It's cheaper? I don't know. I would kind of question that, because I'm looking at some of the prices nowadays, and it's like $8 almost if you go, or $6 to $8 for a full meal from a fast food place. But good comments or good thoughts here. Another one, it looks like I was told to eat 4 ounces of food per meal. Oh, for your entire meal. I don't know. And actually for these types of things, very specific, I would really defer to your healthcare provider. Sometimes you have to look at other factors. So if you have certain conditions, particularly like diabetes or other illnesses, you have to really be careful and have your healthcare provider monitor if you're trying to make any, significant adjustments to what you're consuming. It is a very small, though, in terms of how much they suggest for us to eat. So like, for example, when it comes to protein, if you open up your hand, and the protein, and this is anything protein, whether it's red meat, chicken, pork, what have you, it should only fit into the palm of your hand, and this is not extending out into your fingers. So that is very, very small. I don't have it in front of me. I think it's only like 6 or 8 ounces of protein that they say. Even with the juices that we drink, there's a suggestion for that, and that's like 4 to 6 ounces. And it doesn't matter even if it's all natural juice, it's still really, really small compared to what we typically would be consuming. So let's kind of looking at my time here. So I'm going to try and speed it along. So here are just some additional tips, right? Eat food that's worth eating. Asking yourself, are you eating something that's natural or is it highly processed? I do want to read a couple of statements to you because I think they're really good. And they come from a book called Food Rules, an Eater's Manual from Michael Pollan's. And the one is, if it came from a plant, eat it. If it was made in a plant, don't. And the other one is, eat when you're hungry, not when you're bored, right? So going back to the difference between that hunger, that mouth hunger, or if it's that emotional, physical hunger. So we also, because we do know, we like to have some contentment and enjoyment and satisfaction out of our meals. So those are some things to keep in mind. That's why you kind of have to find what works for you. For me, I have a hard time in just totally cutting something out of my diet. I do a better job when I just cut back. So looking at moderation. So think about, what works best for you. For it's hard. If they have it in front of them, they have a hard time of just eating a small portion, so it may be easier for them to just stop altogether. So look and see what's going to be the best or the easiest thing for you to follow along. Water intake, very important. Yes, definitely. It's important to make sure that you get and drink enough water throughout the day. And that can help too. So for example, if you are trying to just cut back on the amount of food that you're eating during meal times, one good suggestion is to have a glass of water before you eat. So that way you're filling up your stomach mostly with that water. Or having like a clear soup, like just broth. Again, the concept behind that is filling your stomach up with liquids rather than the actual food. So some mindfully eating practices. We're just going to quickly go through these. Remember, it is important to eat when you're hungry, eat what you are hungry for, and truly understand why you want to eat. Even asking yourself, am I hungry? Am I eating because I have nothing else to do? Therefore, I'm bored or I'm stressed. I'm upset. I'm feeling a particular way. Taste, smell, and sense every bite. Remember to stop to eat when you notice that you are no longer hungry. Pay attention to those internal cues that your body is telling you that you're full or getting full, and slow yourself down, right? It's not a race. You just take your time and eat your food. So 3 steps to mindful eating. You want to notice the sensation, thoughts, or feelings as you're eating. Shifting to gentle acceptance and appreciation of your food. And practice that daily mindful awareness of eating. Remember, you can apply this to whether it's a full meal or a snack. And lastly, what is something interesting that you learned today? And what is something that you plan on practicing in these coming weeks? Someone's had too much practice eating. Okay, good one there. Let's see if anything else. The importance of portions. All right. Yep, trying to be aware of those. Another comment that I had missed earlier, someone says, yes, definitely drinking water/milk as I am eating enables my food to digest well and for my speed to be regulated as well. Yeah, so that's something else that's why it's helpful. Someone said they're slowing down when I eat and that they eat at 100 miles per hour. So that's something that they're going to try, I believe, and slow themselves down. Another person they will try to listen to their body as whether it is full, empty, or somewhere in between. So good, utilizing even that hunger gauge, right? Keeping that in mind. And another person said in terms of what they found interesting is that the size of their stomach, the fact that it can stretch to 3 to 4 times of what the original size is. So very good.
Well, Georgina, thank you. This was very good. It's 11 o'clock now. Just for everyone that wasn't on at the very beginning, Georgina and Kai announced that they can't come next week or have their session next week due to a event or a engagement that came up on their calendar. So we are going to move everything back by a week. So instead of having the 25th, our next one will be mindful walking. And it's very interesting learning about mindful walking and thought surfing to gain perspective on negative thoughts, sensations, worries, and urges. And that will be on October 2nd. And then we'll continue with the rest of the sessions on the following weeks. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
October,
We're not.
yeah,
on
October 9th.
October 9th. I apologize. October 9th will be the mindful walking, since we're skipping a week. And then the 16th will be kind to your mind. And then session 5 will be on the 23rd, laughter is good medicine. So hope you can join us for the other ones. These are very informative, and we will send out the video if anybody needs to view it or share it with someone. And if you have any other questions, feel free to watch out, and have a fantastic weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone.